Let's go over to Baku, though. As it turns out, Asad Rehman is there for the climate conference, COP29. He's with War on Want. Asad, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
How is Baku?
Cold and wet.
Cold and wet.
Like London.
Not very nice. Yeah, well, you're not missing much here. It's actually was all right yesterday. It wasn't bad at all. I have to say, COP29 is very much like COP28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20. I was going all the way back, where all you're going to do is decide where to have the next one, isn't it? It's like COP30 in Brazil.
Well, I mean, whilst I think many of us are frustrated about the lack of action, of course, the urgency continues to grow. Just before this climate summit began, the latest report said we are probably likely to breach 2 degrees within the coming decades and 3 degrees by the end of the century. So a child born today is likely within their lifetime to see a world of 3 degrees. And, you know, this is immense. It means huge impacts and collapses of our food systems. And if we're worried, of course, about the cost of living, about paying for food and making ends meet, this is going to devastate the global economy and people's lives and livelihoods. As we saw just a few days ago, the reality of even people and communities in Valencia in Spain. So the urgency grows, but you're right that a lack of action from governments continues to frustrate many of us.
Yes, but except it's not a lack of action, is it? I mean, I had a guy in here yesterday from the Climate Party, right? And he admitted to me that in the past 10 years or more, we here in Britain have reduced our carbon emissions by 42%. That's a pretty big number. There's nearly half of our carbon emissions have disappeared, right? And if we, having done that, are not making any difference, what's the point?
No, well, we are making a difference. I mean, the problem is...
Well, you just mentioned Valencia. We're obviously not making a difference. If Valencia is the cause of climate change and we've reduced our carbon emissions by nearly 50%, what's changed?
Well, it just shows that the lack of action for many, many years has meant that now we have to make much deeper and much faster cuts. But that can be a good thing because, of course, making cuts in our emissions means we can invest in warmer homes, cleaner public transport, cleaner air, and, of course, create lots of new jobs as well in the green economy. I think the reality is, of course, for a country like the UK, yes, we've cut some of our emissions. That's not fast enough.
No, we've cut 40. No, hang on. We've cut 42% of our emissions.
Yes, Mike.
That's a lot.
It is, but not as much as the science and justice demands. That's the reality.
Yeah, but it's more than anybody else has cut their emissions, though, isn't it?
Well, not really, not true at all. I mean, in fact, you know, there are many other countries in the world, particularly developing countries, who have done the least to cause this problem.
Where have places cut carbon emissions more than we have?
Well, I mean, actually, if you look at investments into cutting emissions in places like in India...
That's not the question. No. Where have emissions been cut more than 42% in any other country?
I think the question, Mike, is just in terms of science. If you turn it around and say, where are we in terms of starting point? Well, we have got a lot more to do because that's our fair share.
Asad, so hang on, let me just ask you the question for the third time. Is there another country that's cut their emissions by more than 42%?
If you were
just say no if there isn't one.
No. We haven't, because that's not our fair share of effort. Look, we've been polluting for hundreds of years.
Sorry, I'm going to try one more time. Asad, I'll try one more time. Has there been another country that has cut its emissions, yes or no, by more than 42%?
Relatively, no.
No, thank you.
In the overall context, yes, we haven't done enough, Mike.
That's not the question.
Well, you need to... I mean, Mike, the question is, are we doing our fair share of cutting emissions in line with how much we've polluted? No, we haven't. Have we cut emissions 40%? Yes. Both things can be true, Mike. That's the reality.
No, because the other part about cutting the emissions is a fact. The other part is an opinion, right? You don't think it's enough. It's an opinion. It's not a fact. It's not a fact that we're not doing enough. It's a fact that we've done more than everybody else.
Mike, of course it's a scientific fact, because now we can quantify how much responsibility each country has, how much emissions that they've produced historically, how much emissions that they have produced that are in the atmosphere at the moment. And in that sense, the UK, whilst being one of the smallest populations, still has an outside footprint that we have to do a lot more because a lot of other developing countries have done a lot less.
Right. What are you telling the Taliban?
Are we comparing the UK government to the Taliban?
I'm just asking if you're telling them anything. What should they be doing?
We're calling on every single country to do their fair share of effort. Every single country.
Have you met with the Taliban?
No, I don't. No, why should I meet with the Taliban?
Well, because they're
I'm
at
a British citizen. I'm talking about the British government.
Well, hang on. They're at the conference.
About the British government.
No, they're at the conference, Asad, that you're at. Why are you not meeting with them?
Well, because, you know, I'm a British citizen from a UK organisation.
Yeah.
We are here to make and ask our own government to do its fair share.
So you've gone. Sorry. Let me just get this right. So you've travelled all the way to Baku just to speak to the British government, which is based in the same country that you live in.
No, Mike. As you know, we need a global agreement where everybody does their fair share.
Well, why don't you talk to the Taliban then?
Well, first of all, I would be talking to the Taliban. Second, Afghanistan's footprint in terms of climate emissions is negligible. They can be horrific in many other things, but in terms of climate, actually, they're not emitting. Don't you
feel ashamed, Asad? Hang on. Don't you feel ashamed
to
be in a
because
meeting?
I am speaking at a conference.
And don't you feel ashamed, though, to have attended a meeting that is being attended by the Taliban, the most heinous, ghastly government in the world?
Mike, there are many horrific regimes here, some that are committing genocide as we speak, absolutely. But that is the international community. I wish every government was a better government.
But you're not speaking to them.
I'm not speaking to them. I am not speaking to them, Mike. I need to go because I'm doing a press conference.
Yeah, OK.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers, Asad. Thank you very much indeed. Asad Rehman, Executive Director of War on Want. He's gone about 5,000 miles east of London to go and meet up with people he could have met up with in London to tell them what they should be doing. But he won't meet with the Taliban because they're a bit of an extremist organisation. It beggars belief, doesn't it?